Eligibility for FMLA. Just who is eligible for these benefits? These are powerful and important benefits, so who can get them? Number one, we have to look to your employer. You must work for an employer who employs 50 or more employees. Small employers are not covered. If you work for an employer who has 5, 10, 15 employees, not covered by the FMLA. However, you do look not just at the office or branch or store that you work in, you look at all the employees of your employer within a 75-mile radius. So if they have more than one store, let's say they have 30 people here, 20 people there, that's the 50 you need. If they have several stores, you can add them up. You can add up full-time, part-time, temporary, management, supervisors, all people who work for the employer. You add it up, and if it's more than 50, then you're covered by this law. Let me drop a very important footnote right here, though. Employees, 50 employees. This law covers employees, not independent contractors. Independent contractor, you are not an employee. You employ yourself, and therefore you're not covered by the FMLA. One of the many problems with being an independent contractor. You have far more legal rights if you're an employee. FMLA is not for independent contractors. To be eligible for these benefits, you must have worked for your employer for at least 12 months, and you must have worked 1,250 hours in the last 12 months. Let's look at each of those. You must have worked for your employer for at least 12 months. Doesn't have to be 12 consecutive months, not 12 in a row. It's 12 within the last 7 years. So perhaps you work part-time, 3 months every summer. After 4 of those, that's 12 months, you're now entitled to family medical leave. Or let's assume you worked, 7 or 8 months, then you were laid off, you came back and worked another 5, 6 months, now you're eligible. In addition, and this is a hard hurdle to get over, you have to have worked 1,250 hours within the last 12 months. Let's think about what that means. If you work 40 hours a week full-time, 50 weeks a year, that's 2,000 hours, so you're covered. But if you work half-time, 20 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, that's only 1,000 hours. You won't be entitled to family medical leave. You must have worked at least, basically, 24 hours a week all year for 50 weeks. That's the big and hard hurdle. 1,250 hours within the last 12 months. You notice I keep talking about a serious illness or a serious health condition. That's what FMLA is for. Your child has a cold, you have to take off of work. Does that work? No, not a serious illness. Your child has the flu, you want to take off work. Is that covered by FMLA? No, not the flu. There are regulations that define what a serious health condition or illness is. Number one, if it's something that requires you, your parent, your child, or your spouse to take at least 1 day in a hospital. If you have to do an overnight at a hospital, that's a serious illness. Number two, if it's 3 or more consecutive days off and at least 2 visits to a healthcare provider, that's a serious illness. So if your child has a serious health problem, you take off of work to deal with it. You go into the doctor says your child's going to have to miss 2 weeks of school, and I want you back here next week to look again. Well, now we're talking about 3 consecutive days plus at least 2 visits to the healthcare provider, so you may be entitled to your FMLA for that. And then third, there are certain chronic illnesses that may not require repeated visits to the doctor, but you're under a doctor's care, and it's something that goes on and on. For example, diabetes. For example, serious arthritis. Those are serious health conditions or illnesses that entitle you to take time off under the FMLA. Just by way of example, let's take migraine headaches as an example. You have migraine headache every so often. It hits you, you can't go to work that day. It's that simple. That's 8 hours. Remember, 480 hours is what you have off in a 12-month period. So if you have migraines that hit once a week, once a month, every so often, FMLA will cover that.